Remembrance Day 2025, the No Stone Left Alone Memorial Foundation is dedicated to honoring and remembering Canada's veterans. To talk about that today, Randall and Maureen Purvis.
Reluctantly.
This podcast reluctantly sponsored by ThompsonMortgages.com. It costs you nothing to make a phone call to see if you can get a better rate, a better term, and better service for your mortgage. Also, Concept.com. Concept Clothing and Culture. CONXEPPT.com. Look your best.
Reluctantly.
Hello, Terry.
Hi, Randall. Great to see you. Maureen, wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Or should I say Lieutenant Colonel Purvis?
You can now. Honorary. Yeah.
So the honorary, how do they bestow that upon you as honorary Lieutenant Colonel?
I was asked by a couple members of the South Alberta Light Horse Foundation came to my office and sat, and we had a discussion, and they wondered if that was something I would be willing to take on. So I said yes, and I worked with the foundation the last 2 years on their board of directors, and it took some time to get approved, but I was approved at June 1st of this year. So I got a letter from the commander of the Canadian Army welcoming me on. So that was really special.
Are you stepping into the shoes of honorary Colonel Gord Steinke, who was, I know, has been affiliated with the military for quite some time? Those are big shoes to fill, by the way.
They are different regiment, but yeah, the same job, right? Bonding the community to learn more about what their Canadian Armed Forces do and support them.
The No Stone Left Alone Memorial Foundation has now been going 15 years?
15 years.
We just celebrated the 15th ceremony out at Beachmount.
2011 was the first one, and this was our 15th.
And I remember 15 years ago, Randall, when you reached out to me and told me what everything that was planned and the things that were going to happen and how it was going to grow. The vision started a long, long time ago. And the mission statement I love is short and sweet. Do you want to handle that, Maureen?
Oh, wow. You're catching me off guard because we revised it just a few years ago. But essentially, the mission is that we want every student to go out to the cemeteries each November and place a poppy on the headstone of one of our veterans that lay in the field of honors or in any cemetery in Canada for their service.
It's all about creating knowledge, understanding, and appreciation for those who serve and for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice.
We also have such an amazing support system through the educators. And it's been a bit confusing here in Alberta for a while, but the students come out, they go to the headstone. If they're lucky, they've never been to a cemetery, and we ask them gently to say the soldier's name, say thank you, and then post ceremonies, we ask them all to send us reflection letters. And Maureen has thousands of these letters that tell we make a connection with its students on what it is to live in Canada, what they feel when they're in front of that headstone, and it's really that's the sort of the essence of what No Stone Left Alone is.
We are now 107 years gone from the war to end all wars. We are 80 years gone from World War II, and there are none left for all intents and purposes. I mean, even the ones who lied about their age to get into the army to fight, they have long since departed, and we thank them for their service. But there have been other conflicts, and there have been a great many Canadian veterans who have been all over the world sacrificing their time. And we can't forget about the families of those who are in the Canadian military who also sacrifice so much.
Right. It's really important that even though time goes by, you know, for me, I tell the kids, because to a child right now, 80 years is a long time since the Second World War. But when I'm able to look at them in the eyes and say, that was my parents, it doesn't seem that long ago.
On that note, then, Maureen, do you want to kind of run through a little bit of the origins of how it all came to be? I mean, 15 years for No Stone Left Alone Foundation, but it was something that happened long before that. Isn't that right?
It is. Both my parents served in World War II, and they both rest next to each other in the Field of Honor at Beechmount Cemetery. Unfortunately, when I was 12 years old, I come from a family of 13 children. And when I was 12 years old, my dear mother passed of breast cancer. And in the final time we had, each one of us had a few minutes with her before they took her. And she said to me, Maureen, I don't want you to cry when I'm gone, but I really, really want you to remember me on Armistice Day. Don't forget me. So I knew growing up, having both parents as military members, that service was everything to them. They were so proud of it. They stayed involved in their legions and the Anavets clubs, and it was always something very in front of all of us as children. We knew how important it was. But for me as a 12-year-old, I wasn't quite sure even what armistice meant at that time. But I quickly figured out that first November, she passed at the end of August, and I figured out that first November to take my poppy that I wore at school and go out to the cemetery where she was buried, and I put it down. And that was my act to her to show her I would keep my promise, and I've been doing it ever since. So then fast forward through school and high school, and then meeting Randall and having our children together. It's just something I continued to do with all of them. And we would bring our children out, place the poppies, and then I would take them up to the cenotaph and have them look out at the 4,000 headstones that rest there just in one cemetery at Beechmount. And we would just reflect on that service and, just be thoughtful and quiet. It wasn't too heavy of a message with words. It was more just watching. And it was our youngest daughter that said, Mom, why don't they all get a poppy? And so that sparked an interest in me. And originally I thought, I'm going to do this here at this Field of Honor, and I'll invite a few friends and just see if I can do it. And then luckily a chain of events happened where we were able to meet a young lieutenant colonel from sponsoring a dance. Randall was graciously sponsored a dance when the soldiers were coming home. So I met the young lieutenant colonel. We met with him. And then we were out at another event and met the Minister of Education. And I went up to him and chatted and told him my idea, sent a letter to Veterans Affairs. Everybody got on board. And we went out that first time. And it was incredible. We just knew, being there, we could see the power of it for all three, for not only community members that we were, just civilians. We could see it in the students' eyes, and we could definitely feel it in the serving military members that stood there watching what we were doing.
And 15 years ago, Randall, I suppose, from meager beginnings at Beechmont Cemetery, and then how it's grown to a cross-Canada phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
Truly, and it's organic. It's when a teacher does it, or a family member, or we did a scout group the other day, that when someone does it the first time, it strikes a chord for the organizers, for the communities, and obviously for the children and families with the children. And it seems to be repeating itself. And we're very proud of our history across Canada, and the numbers say a lot. I mean, we'll have 750,000 poppies placed since the beginning, which is, when you think of it, it's a phenomenal accomplishment. And we're also very, very proud of our 7th year, I believe, in Krakow, Poland. So we've taken it across the ocean, and we have this wonderful school, School 58 in Krakow, that did a ceremony there honoring 15 Canadian soldiers and 300 Allied soldiers in this beautiful cemetery in Krakow, with now Ukrainian and Polish students going to the same school. So it's extraordinary. And don't get us wrong, it's a lot of work. And Maureen and I are volunteers, tireless and now tired volunteers a bit. We have wonderful support all around us. We're really proud of the team we have put together now.
Reluctantly.
This podcast reluctantly sponsored by ThompsonMortgages.com. Did you know that 60% of Canadian mortgages come up for renewal in 2025 and 2026? Is yours one of them? This is a great reason why you should reach out to ThompsonMortgages.com. Don't just DocuSign that email that comes from your current lender. Reach out to thompsonmortgages.com. Ask Mike or any one of the team members if you should be on a fixed rate, a variable rate. What kind of terms should you be looking at? These are great questions for anyone at thompsonmortgages.com. And if you do reach out, please let them know that you heard about this on the Reluctantly podcast. And the other thing, I guess we should, before we go too long, we should point out nostoneleftalone.ca. People can go on there and watch the YouTube version. I watched the live stream on November 5th, and they can watch the YouTube version of the ceremonies from the cemetery and see Gord Steinke, formerly of Global TV, emceeing everything with the military and the children. There seem to be children from all across the country there.
It seems like it when you see that many children together. We're always impressed that when you think of that was one cemetery, but that's going on all across Canada, that all of those students are doing the same thing at one time.
I'm not very skilled like you are, Terry, but I'm on the internet this morning and I'm looking at our ceremony in Burnaby and I'm looking at our ceremony in Calgary, and it's
emotional.
moving, to see these wonderful student-led, teacher-led, volunteer-led ceremonies all over Canada.
Do you have offices in centers across the country, or are you handling, Randall, before we started recording this, you said you had just moved into a new office. Are you handling everything countrywide right from here in Edmonton?
We are. We have our national coordinator just down the hall from us. Maureen has organized, we call them regional coordinators, RCs. So one regional coordinator in Quebec, Rocco, he will take the Quebec region. Then we'll have Nick in Ottawa. He will do Ontario. So each province has a lead, and sometimes we divide the province into two, north and south.
I will say that we only have one paid employee. The rest are all volunteers. I mean, that is do a shameful promotion here, but fundraising for what we do is not an easy thing, because we've created a new thing that no one has thought to do when you don't think to fund commemoration education, right? We are educating those kids. And so that's the number one thing we do, but it doesn't seem to fit into a lot of the thoughts of people. They see it, they love it, but we do need the support. We do really need and want to grow our programming, our teachers' resources. We want to help more. And to only have one paid employee, it limits us. So.
And the other thing, too, is you can go to the website, nostoneleftalone.ca, and there's an opportunity to see how you can make donations, whether it be one time or a monthly donation or something. But so the ceremonies themselves, just prior to Remembrance Day, Armistice Day, there is all of that coordination and all of the work that needs to be done with those things. But there is also a year-long program. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it year-long, the No Stone Left Alone program that helps out for kids?
It goes year-long now, more in an some sites will do it. Okay, like for example, the majority go from October till the end of November. Some will go that January to June, because our international ones are going now. And people going on their travels, they will say, I'm going to Memphis, Tennessee. Can I go see if there's Canadians there? And then when they find them, then they'll do a no stone ceremony on their vacations. This is happening a lot to us now. And and in France, the same thing. It's just a continuum of that. But the bulk of what happens here in Canada, in the nation, are all in that time frame. But one of the best stories I always find is Antioch, BC, which we're the northwest BC. They have to do it in October because they actually have to get in a helicopter and fly to the island to commemorate these old cemeteries that are up there. They can't do it in November, December. The weather's too bad. So these Canadian Rangers are doing that every year. And those kinds of stories are incredible because it starts the thought of remembrance much earlier for people, right? If we start to talk about it in September, talk about it in October, and that was one of my missions, is to take it away from just being one day. It goes too quickly. And now we spread it out so that your heart can really build to these stories you hear all across the country of someone's grandfather or great-grandfather or brother or a military member that's lost a friend. And all of this gives us time to really digest what remembrance really should be.
Randall, you talked about Krakow, Poland, and School 58, how they have a program there. I would imagine because of the impact of Canadian soldiers during conflict, particularly in the Second World War, First World War, I would imagine that there is probably, they're pretty receptive to having a program develop if it's not already developing.
It's so true. Maureen spoke. So we're in Krakow, Poland. We're 7 years ago. And to be honest, a woman leadership in a country like that, when she's at the podium and she's taking that, and they brought the soldiers, we brought the mayor's office, we had the charge d'affaires from the Canadian embassy. That particular event, that first year we did it, was a profound experience for us. And ever since that day, that school, and it's not easy to communicate in Polish for one thing, which obviously is difficult. English teachers seem to lead it for us. The children we have, and it's right down, if you come to my office, Terry, you're always welcome, our office. They were so young they couldn't say in English, so they drew pictures. They drew pictures of two Polish airplane and a Canadian airplane and bullets coming down from it. And that was their version of Canada's support for them. And we always want to say, too, in Canada, we're blessed. Yes, we have conflict, real conflict right now. But over there, conflict is one generation prior. Everyone has someone they know that passed away, served, and it was fought on their soil. So Canada has not, and I hope we never do have it happen on our soil. But there, it's really ingrained in their heart, the service and sacrifice of the Allied forces that helped them. So, and Maureen and I had an experience in Holland, and we had the same thing in Belgium this spring. They respect us and appreciate this Allied forces like we should and do here in Canada. But over there, it's really profoundly moving when you're there.
Reluctantly.
This podcast, reluctantly sponsored by Concept Clothing and Culture. CONXEPPT.com. Handcrafted suits, custom tuxedos, and tailored essentials. Suits starting at $1,188. Made to measure right here in downtown Edmonton. Concept, CONXEPPT.com. If you reach out to Dave or anyone at Concept.com, please let them know that you heard about them on the Reluctantly podcast.
We start with a conversation, style, fabric, and color analysis, measured and handcrafted within 4 weeks. It ends with confidence. Concept.com.
I mentioned earlier about the No Stone Left Alone program, which has an opportunity to provide leadership abilities and that kind of thing for kids as the program continues. And I would imagine working with educational systems across the country is probably a big thing, and having the resources to do that for teachers is very important, because when it comes down to it, they're going to be the ones trying to pass on the message to make sure that the kids, in both of your personal experiences, how has the reception been from the children who, they are born in the 2000s, in the 2020s, in the 2010s. That's a long way removed from conflict, from a military fashion. And I know that we have a lot, especially in the Edmonton area, we have a lot of military families and children of military families. So they might be a little more up to snuff than others. How do you see the reaction from the kids?
I personally, for me, I witness it every time I'm at any ceremony, and I hear it in their words, obviously, when they write to me. But when they get out there and they walk those stones and they look at the ages, that's what seems to do it. If you see someone that's 19, one of those young students might have a brother who's 17, 18. They can relate. All of a sudden, it becomes a little more real, right? They're not reading something from 1802 or, like a textbook that they can't get their head around. When they stand there, I've seen kids say the name of the serving member there in front of that headstone. And I've actually heard them say, "Joe, I will never forget you. I will be back next year." They start to embrace this spirit that gave them their freedom. And you would have noticed in the show yesterday that incredible speech from that young student mentoring with the commander. Her story of an immigrant and coming here, and now her wearing the uniform is her sign of giving back. And we try to say that a lot to the kids. We just carry on in our lives. We don't look over our shoulder. We can do what we want, say what we want. But a lot of these kids now that have immigrated into Canada in the last 15 years with us, they didn't have those opportunities. They were afraid of their police force. They would never get an opportunity to speak to anybody in their military. They're terrified of them, right? And here it just opens up such an open book of different way to understand, because they see that stone, they're looking at the history, they're themselves becoming a young ambassador and showing their civic responsibility to give back. And that right next to them is someone that could be deployed tomorrow. So the light goes on. It seems to be that little bit of a trifecta that they go, I understand now. And the teachers tell me that all the time. And so yesterday at the end of the show, that's what I focused on. I go out and I shake those teachers' hands, because we can't do it if they don't understand it.
The resources, I'm sure, are slim, but the fundraising and trying to gather support is probably ongoing year round. And, you can go to the nostoneleftalone.ca website and see the partners and sponsors. And I probably can't even imagine how important those are to both of you.
Really
Truly,
important.
truly.
I've had people say to me, I thought No Stone would be like a 4-story building full of employees. And I say, no, we just have one. There's just a small team, a mighty team, but a small team, because each one of us would never turn our back on it now. Once it's in your heart, they're there, what they did, the history, and the freedom you have today. And it is because of them that lay in those cemeteries in Canada, or Canada would be a very different place today.
And I think what Maureen said earlier is so perfectly, it's correct. But when you see the news today, these young children are aware there's conflicts all over the world. So it's kind of making our little noise, our little No Stone Left Alone mission, even just a tad more relevant to them. It may not be in their soil, but if they see conflict all over the world, and then they see the Canadian Armed Forces as a part of that. And our little mission supports that, supports the Canadian Armed Forces, the extraordinary members of our Canadian team, and then the next generation to really connect to their service and sacrifice.
We always say this is the new generation of remembrance. There's a whole movement of young kids now that are not only learning from the textbooks. They're actually going out and tangibly doing something about it.
Yesterday we have Emanuela. Emanuela was she's a beautiful spokesperson at one of our ceremonies. How many years ago, Maureen?
It was 2018.
6 years ago? 2018. Now she's in second or third year university, still part of our family. She was greeting people here yesterday, and she's kept it in her heart since that day. We were at her school, presented her with a little award, and we have many children like that they were there the first day, but it's still in their lives and very prominent in the way they act, especially this time of year.
I can't imagine the pride that you have and the feeling that you have of being able to make that impact, so that you have children like that who've from 7 years ago are still carrying it on today. And I was going to ask you about your youngest daughter, who is a young woman now, and she's certainly not a kid anymore, that asked that question. How come the rest of the Stones don't have a poppy anymore? And the grandkids
Amazing.
are a part of it now and everything.
Grandkids are part of it.
Yeah.
My granddaughter, who's just home between her term at Western University, she stood beside me and laid the wreath yesterday. So the kids have all been part of it. They remain part of it. Our daughters work with us, and yeah, it's important.
So the National Day of Remembrance, and of course, Remembrance Day, Armistice Day. But there are other things that happen throughout the year, Randall, that raise funds for No Stone Left Alone, including there's a Dance to Remember, correct?
We have a Dance to Remember next year, October the 3rd. And we have it earlier because we used to have yesterday's ceremony and our dance in the same week. Now we've moved the dance earlier in the fall, so it's October the 3rd, 2026. And we also have a really, really wonderful Voices of Remembrance luncheon. And we moved it around spots. It's usually in late April, early May. And that's it's only an hour and a half. We have distinguished guest speakers and usually 100, 115 people. That's to keep the act of remembrance in the springtime as well. And that gets No Stone and all of our people that are highly engaged in it actively thinking about what we're doing for the fall and starting the spring that way. Voices of Remembrance 26.
The website is nostoneleftalone.ca. Such a tremendous impact on young people and such an admirable job on a remarkable endeavor. I really thank you both for doing that. I was never in the military. I've got many military family friends, and so the impact is never lost on me. The poppies, and as a matter of fact, I don't know if you can see it, but
Oh,
I
well.
have my Canadian flag tattoo with 11-11-11 in Roman numerals right there.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
I have that
Nice.
always on my right arm, thinking of
Yeah.
my military friends, the ones that are still with us,
Yes.
dealing with everything that they had to deal with when they were in the military, and the ones that we've lost. So,
Exactly.
Wonderful, Terry. Mhm.
Yeah.
Randall, Lieutenant Colonel, thank you so much,
Thanks very
and
much.
I do appreciate your time today.
Lest we forget.
And we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reluctantly.
This podcast reluctantly sponsored by ThompsonMortgages.com. It costs you nothing to make a phone call to see if you can get a better rate, a better term, and better service for your mortgage. Also, Concept.com. Concept Clothing and Culture. CONXEPPT.com. Look your best.
Reluctantly.